Today let's have a look at another type of object. It's not quite a mesh, but we can convert it to a mesh after we've finished working with it. And that is going to be curves. So if I first of all turn on my screencast keys, there we go. If I go Shift A to add a curve, we've got a couple of options here. We've got 5 options. We've got a Bezier, which will be a Bezier curve, a circle, which will be a Bezier circle, a NURBS curve, and a NURBS circle, and then the final one is a path. Okay, let's start off at the top at the Bezier, or some people call it Bezier, I guess. So I've added that. We've got some options down here. Let's see if I can. No, it won't pull up there. Let me move his screencast out, keys out of the way, so you can see better. There we go. We'll move those up the top. Right, we've got some options down here. Radius of the curve, and if we look, we know a blended grid is 2 meters, so a 1 meter radius from the origin covers 1 meter. Location, which we could change to the curve, and rotation to rotate the curve. Let me just set that back to 0. Alright, when you add a Bezier curve, always adds kind of flat on the z-axis or the z-axis. So if I go straight to the z-axis there, that is the orientation of the curve. Other axis, it will be flat. So let me go straight to the z or the z, which is numpad 7. If we edit this curve, we can see we've got the path of the curve denoted by these arrows, and we've got a handle on each end of the curve. So the handle, we could say grab this center point, grab it and move it to shape the curve. We could grab one of these handles and move that to add shape to the curve, and obviously the same on the other side. So we can start to shape a curve. We have a curve button down here that obviously is only visible when we've got a curve selected, which we have here, and we've got all kinds of options down here. Okay, we're only really interested in a couple of them. One of them is going to be a resolution. Okay, now if we look at the number of arrows here, if I reduce my resolution, you can see that they increase and decrease according to what I'm doing. Alright, this is going to be important for us because when we convert this to a mesh, it's going to tell us the number of vertices we have along a mesh. Anything else we need to look at here at the minute? Nope, geometry. Okay, we'll come back to this. Bevel we'll come back to. Alright, so that is a basic curve, and you can see how I ordered the shape of it. I can extend this curve. I can grab this center point on the handle here, and I can extrude it with the E key to make more of a curve. Let's go back to my top view. So I could then say grab this, grab a handle, move it around. Let's move this across. I could extrude this again, E, and make as many as I want. So if I go back into object mode, I have this curve shape. Alright, let's look at it side on. You can see it's not completely flat because I was working in kind of this kind of view when I was extruding. So actually, let's do that again. Let's delete this curve. Let's go to a top view. Let's add a curve, Shift A, add a Bezier. Let me collapse that. Let's edit this. It's kind of grab this up here, and we got this one. Let's extrude this up here, extrude this down here. Right, I'll go back into object mode. Now you see it is flat. Okay, because I was working in that top view, not the slightly off view. Right, what can we do with a curve? Well, there's a couple of things we can do. We can make a mesh from it, or we can use it to shape other things. First of all, let's concentrate on making a mesh from it. Alright, there used to be a shortcut for this, which was Shift-Alt-C, but it's been removed in this version of Blender. Now, to convert this to a mesh, you need to go to Object, Convert to, and Mesh. Older users, if you're so used to the Shift-Alt-C function, you could right click here and assign your own shortcut. I'm not going to, but that is entirely your choice. And by the way, if you're going to do that, Shift-Alt-C is available. You can assign that back to this function. So, convert this to a mesh. Well, if we look at it first of all in edit mode, we see it's the Bezier curve with the paths and handles. If we convert to a mesh from a curve and we edit it, we now see it's a series of vertices. We could, for example, select all those vertices and extrude them on the Z-axis or the Z-axis and make a mesh that way. Is it possible to join two curves? It is, but you end up with an end-on face. It's, well, let's do that. Let's delete this object. Let's Shift A. Let's add a Bezier. Let's just scale that up a bit. Let's Shift D on the Z-axis, bring it down so we've got second Bezier. We would need to join these two curves. So Shift Select, Control J to join. Now if we edit them, we'll see we've got two curves in the same object. We could go to Object, Convert to a Mesh. And we'll select all. We could press face there to create this face, but it is an end-on face. You see there's no vertices coming down it. It's easier, or it's more kind of accurate to create our own faces. So for example, if I was going to edge mode here, I select this first edge, and here I could press F to make that face and work my way down the curve. So we're getting a more accurate curve shape with quads. End-ons are bad because when you go to upload them into Second Life, the uploader doesn't really know what you intended and can join wrong vertices where you hadn't intended them. So it's always far better to make a mesh. Obviously this way is a bit slower. It would have been far easier to just use the one curve and extrude it down. Or let's try that actually. So let's go to vertex select. Let's select those, delete them. So I'll alt select this loop. I could extrude on a Z. There you go, much quicker. Right, so that is converting a curve to a mesh and ways we can use it. We could use a curve to get the shape we want, convert it to a mesh and then carry on.